So what I love about this passage is how real it is. This relationship between God and God's people and the relationship with Moses and Aaron, this is not a kumbaya community where everybody just loves each other to pieces and everyone's grateful all the time. There are complaints and perceived injustices and even whining. The people of God are not portrayed kindly, and they don't look on God too kindly either, or their leaders. But it's also real about how hard life can be. Not just for refugees escaping violence, but for much of humanity, much of the time. There are Egypts and deserts everywhere. Some of them are very personal, and some of them are wider in this world. And sometimes it's hard to trust that God will provide for our needs. It's just hard. Sometimes we can't see that God is already providing. And it's only in retrospect that we can look back and see the hand of God leading us and guiding us through all the highs and lows of our own lives. And then when we see it, what we feel is gratitude. What we feel is grateful. The stories you're about to hear are from our fellow travelers along the journey. They're giving witness to God's presence in their own lives through this church and through their life of faith. And they give witness to the power of a community of faith. And I think that hearing their stories will help us reflect on our own lives too. Both the wilderness moments and the unexpected blessings. What I know is that hearing their stories filled me with gratitude as well. So thank you.
Good morning. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend about how our lives flow through different seasons. And as I started thinking about all of the seasons that my life has taken me through, I realized quickly that this church has been there for me during every single one of those seasons, the highs and the lows. Our church has also flowed through many seasons. It has grown and changed a lot throughout the years, but one thing has always remained. The church continues to bring stability, comfort, a safe space, and amazing relationships into my life. My family joined this church when I was young, and one of the first people I can remember changing my life was Sue Murdoch. She gave me my first solo and cast me as Daniel in the Lion's Den. She helped build my love of music and performance and introduced me to the concept of using my voice as a way to share the gifts that God has given me. Middle and high school is usually a difficult season for many, and I was not spared this struggle. But this church became a home away from home. Through choir and youth group, I built relationships with people that remain some of my dearest friends to this day. Joy Heyer and Sarah Sharp came into my life during this time. I still lovingly refer to Joy as my second mom, and Sarah is a staple in the life of my family, including being June's baptism sponsor. I wish I had the time to talk about each member who has touched our life, but one family in particular has been through many seasons with us. Through mutual church friends, I met Susan and Joe Lighthouser the summer after I graduated high school. They trusted me with caring for their two babies at the time, Claire, an active toddler, and Peter, a smiley and very drooly infant. I've watched them grow, singing at Sally's baptism, watching them walk down the aisle as our flower girls and ring barrier, growing with them as their confirmand sponsors, and now watching them babysit our two babies. It's a beautiful figure eight, as Susan calls it. Then came the seasons of adulthood. Whether it was the season of being very homesick at college, the season of staying out too late on Saturday nights, the season of nap times during church that kept us at home, or the season of working on our health, which took us to open gym rather than worship. Our church home remained the place that we always come back to. Cannon and I served as youth leaders when we were still just dating. We got married in this church. We've had our babies baptized in this church. When we lost a child, I received cards from people in the congregation who had known me since I was a child. When we lost Cannon's mother, Karen helped us mourn in a way that was both private and intimate, but also very meaningful. The church put together a meal train for us when I went back to work after having my babies. Tripp visited us in the hospital very recently during a new treatment and talked us through navigating the hospital world. And I still receive handwritten notes from Janice following up after the death of my beloved grandmother. When we were asked to speak about what the church means to us, it was a no-brainer to say absolutely. But then the question became, how do we fit that all into a few minutes? So I'll sum it up with the words of our children. June says her favorite things are the children's moment, Jesus, Miss Carol, and when they pour the water into the bowl. Freeman says he loves Miss Amy and playing with his friends. Watching my children develop the love of this church and build relationships here is undoubtedly the greatest gift that we could receive. Our extended family is one of mixed faiths, but what we all love about First Presbyterian Church in Granville is that it is open and welcoming. You all practice what you preach: kindness, love, and acceptance. And for that, we are very grateful. Thank you.